You know, I don't care if you're sick. You're going to school today. You want to know why? Because when I was pregnant with you, I fought off a bunch of Skralinger. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone on the non-binary spectrum, my name is Hexley, and this is Rejected Princesses. It's not so much a game, where it is much more of a website. And what Rejected Princesses is, it tells stories of women in mythology and history who are too awesome, too off-putting. It just tells stories that Disney are not telling. Some for good reason, some they need to get on that instead of making more live action remakes, because we really don't need them. We really don't. And others is just like, okay, maybe Netflix could do a special on this one, because this one is just way too adult for Disney. So that's, I had a better explanation in my head, and then I went out the window as soon as I opened my mouth. So, in honor of International Women's Day, I've decided that I wanted to read a couple Rejected Princesses stories. You know, and I would just read enough until like we get to a point where it's like, all right, we're going on too long. I'm gonna end the video. And how I'm going to do this is it's all gonna be random. So there is one story, I forget her name constantly, but she's like this chick who she burned down a monastery, like for the girl she was dating and stuff. So while that is one of my favorite, we're probably not going to be reading that. This is the map where it shows you all the locations of certain stories. Maybe not the exact locations, but the general area of these locations. So this is what we're going to go off of to help it better be randomized. And also, what we're going to do is we're going to use the filter. Oh, wait, no, not that one. You see it has story types: upbeat, mixed, downer, offbeat. So, doing web entries. Wait, no. That's not how we're doing it. And also, we're going to go by if there's no web, and we're going to go from heroic, villainous, and mix. So we're going to do heroic, villainous, mix, and then if we have more time, heroic, villainous, mix, and we're going to keep going until we run out of time. And we're also going to do history, just so you know. While myth is fun, we're going to do history because, you know, International Women's Day, we should celebrate women who were actually here and who their existence is not going to be debated on. I mean, that still happens for women in history, but, you know. Nah. The pinks are purplish pink, as you can see right there, are clusters, and it tells you how many there are there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes, and I will just do this thingy, swirlies, and then I'll just go like, boop, and then just stop. And then wherever I stop, wherever I land, that's what I'm going to read next. And if it's a cluster, I'll just do the same thing, whatever. So, let's get to heroic.
Danger like a moonless night, awaken senses all.
Eyes closed. There is no one over there. And I feel like I knew this was coming, so I think what it is I just go to the closest one. So we're gonna go out of the snowy place and go down here to see Freydis Eiriksdottir. I'm so sorry. When attacked by Native Americans, this pregnant Viking bared her chest, brandished a sword, and took them on by herself. And she won. Freydis. Let's read about Freydis. Freydis Eiriksdottir. Sword-wielding pregnant Viking. I'm going to have the best storyteller voice ever, so I probably won't, but you know. The trip to North America was not going to be going as expected. Leif Erikson, hey, happy Leif Erikson Day. I'm sorry. Leif Erikson and his band of Norsemen had come to the shores of North America, present-day Canada to be precise, in the late 900s, and had made an uneasy truce with the local Native Americans, whom they called Strelingjar. Whatever that means. Unfortunately, that peace has fallen apart, and a large war party had the Vikings on the run, but one of them wasn't about to turn tail. Striding toward the red-painted native warriors, Leif's extremely pregnant sister, Freydis, insulted the courage of her fellow Icelanders and proclaimed, "Let me but have a weapon. I think I could fight better than any of you." Is it dramatic? The weapon only came to her after she was totally surrounded by Skraelinjar. With nary a live ally in sight, grabbing a sword off of a dead clansman, she bared her chest at her enemies, beating her breast with the flat of her sword and screaming bloody murder. The Skraelinjar, realizing that their foes had left but a single person to fight them all, and that this person was pregnant, alien striking herself with a foreign weapon and shrieking indecipherable obscenities at them, decided they weren't about to stick around and figure out why any of this was happening. They wisely ran the hell away. You just imagine now, we came for a fight, and it's just a pregnant lady screaming in her, like, they're speaking different language, so as far as they're concerned, it's like she's speaking like some weird gibberish, and just beating her chest. It's like, we're gonna go. Bye. And that would basically be the beginning, middle, and end of Freydis Eiriksdottir's story. Except historians wanted to hold her up as an example. So things get messy. Like a good example or a bad example? How are we doing this? What, like, oh, bad example, like, oh, this is why you shouldn't do this. Now her baby's dead. Some. The story you just heard comes to us courtesy of the Erik the Red Saga, and it's one of the only. The story you just heard comes to us courtesy of the Erik the Red Saga. Yeah, saga, and it's one of only 2 sources on Freydis' life. The other source, the Greenlander Saga, tells the totally different story. While it ostensibly covers many of the same events as the Erik the Red Saga, the Greenlander Saga paints Freydis as a conniving, nasty lady who married for money and only went on the Vineland trip for yet more money. In the Greenlander's version, she convinces 2 brothers to help lead a private expedition to Vinland with her, but she double-crosses them. Lying that the brothers had offended her honor, she orders her husband to avenge her, and threatens to leave him if he doesn't. Her husband dutifully murders the brothers and the brothers' men. Freydis finishes the job by using an axe to kill all the women in the brothers' party. From there, Freydis takes the brothers' bow, divvies up their wealth, swears everyone in her party to secrecy, and returns to the main Viking expedition. It does not stay a secret for long, though. Her brother, an expedition leader, senses something amiss and tortures a confession out of some of her men. Once the truth is revealed, Leif does not punish her. She's his sister. But the moralistic narrator of the Greenlander sees notes that after that no one thought anything but ill of Freydis. After that no one thought anything but ill of Freydis. Yeah, I read that right. So that's just a smidge different than the previous perversion. How to reconcile? Yeah, how do you fix that? Well, historians have done some digging into the stories, and they found some telling information to help flesh things out. The basic consensus is that the Greenlander Saga was, in some part, Christian propaganda. It refers to Freydis as a heathen who would refuse to conform to Christianity. Ah, yeah, that sounds like Christian propaganda to me. Yep. Gather round, children, I shall tell you the story of heathens. One by the name of Freydis. Don't grow up to be like her young girls. Now that's a pretty big sign that that's Christian propaganda. Allow me to tell you the story of Freydis. a nasty heathen woman who didn't want to conform to Christianity, so she's bad. Sounds about right. Holding her up as an example of a bad woman who wouldn't obey the rules, a Norse parallel to the biblical Jezebel, which helps explain some of the details that don't make sense. Like, why would she ever think mere gifts could keep 35 people quiet? That's a good point. 35 plus people. It's not just 35 plus. Why would Eric have to torture people to get information when he could have just ordered them to tell him? Right? It has the hallmarks of moralistic revisionism about it, meant to steer people towards a new way of thinking, a more Christian way of thinking. Strangely enough, the Eric the Red saga, although conclusively proven to be more Norse revision than the Greenlander saga, is held up by historians as a bit more objective. The Eric the Red saga was a conscious rewriting of the Vinland expedition events, using the Greenlander saga as well as other texts, many of which are not lost to history. While the exact details of Freydis' story are hard to prove, they distantly echo a number of other shield maiden stories. They were put in there as a part of a conscious effort on the part of Norse historians, almost as if to provide a counterexample of saying, "Look what Norse women can be." And that is the end of that story. Oh my god. You know she was one of those parents that were like, that probably didn't like hearing her kid complain. Just like, I don't care if you're sick. You're going to school today. You want to know why? Because when I was pregnant with you, I fought off a bunch of Skraelingar. Okay? So you have no excuses. What, you're sick? Your arm is falling off? I was pregnant and fought 50 Skraelingar. Totally made up that number, but whatever. Alright, that was one heroic. Now, we shall do one villainous. Oh, okay. Okay, that happened. When you put in just history, white bit trees, and villainous, we are really down the barrel, huh? Legit, I refreshed the page. Maybe I got like an error or something, but yes, it only leaves us with 4 places. 1 in Europe, 1 in South America, 1 in Madagascar, I think that is, and 1 somewhere in Oceania. And now we're going to do the magic to decide, and the magic of randomization. Yeah, I don't see one over there. Unless the Little Mermaid was real, I don't think we're gonna get a story out of that one. Maybe I could try to keep it in here. Okay, maybe I could go zigzag. That's what I could do. Eyes closed and boop. Oh my gosh. I guess you're closer, Europe. Fredegund. Possibly the most cartoonishly evil woman to have ever existed. This Merovogian Queen was an endless source of assassination attempts, including one on Merovogian and her own daughter. Oh god, that picture! Oh my god, that's so messed up. That is so messed up. She's like, "Mommy, why?" And then her mom looks like she's in the middle of the singing The Little Mermaid. Death to my girls. So effed up. Fredegund. So effed up. Yeah, I should probably mention, when these say villainous, they mean villainous. Like, holy crap, this person actually existed in this world. Villainous. Like, there was one about the lady who, like, killed her own baby because she was like, "I'm not even gonna let this baby get in the way of my reign." Like, how dare you, infant, try to destroy my royalty. Morality, villainous. Personality, regal. Rating, R. Source history, story, downer. Woo! Fredegund, mid 500s to 597. Assassination obsessed queen. Heads up, this entry was one of the first written and thus is not well sourced and requires more work to fit the standards of the work. Oh, this one's kind of like a list. Other ones were like stories, but this one was a list of, No, if I'm not too satisfied with this one, we're gonna go for another one. Maybe we'll get some more detailishly evil. Here is the most cartoonishly evil woman I've ever come across, Fredegund. This woman was the 6th century Merovogian Queen consort with a penchant for killing people. Her notable life went roughly as follows. She works her way into the palace of Silperic I as serving woman for the queen, Andovera. Silperic I, although married to Andovera, takes Fredegund as a concubine. Fredegund convinces them to divorce Andovera and send her to a nunnery. Fredegund then quietly kills Andovera. I mean, it wasn't enough that the divorce happened. You gotta make sure that she can't come back to convince the second love chance. So Perik then marries another woman, Galswitha. Galswitha turns up strangled in her own bed. Oh my god! I shouldn't be laughing! Holy crap! It's like, no, when I want you to divorce the other chick, I meant you gotta marry me! Who is this chick? God, give me the wire. So Perik marries Fredegund a couple days later, presumably getting... Holy crap! He's like, alright, I get it. Fine, I'll marry you. Jeez! This is so... What is this? Fredegund killing Silperic's brother Sigbear. The two brothers had been fighting. She also tries to kill Sigbear's son. Sigbear turns up mysteriously dead. Immediately thereafter, Fredegund takes all his money, skips town, and starts living in Notre Dame Cathedral. Sanctuary, indeed. Under the protection of his brother Guntram. 3 years later, she tries to assassinate Guntram. 10 years later, Fredegund dies. How? I do not know. Fredegund got in the way of Fredegund. If Fredegund had a foil, it was Galswilda's sister and Sigbeard's widow, Brunhild. For 40 years, the two of them fought, resulting in endless warfare. You can be sure at least one assassination attempt. In the end, Brunhild outlived Fredegund, but even from beyond the grave, Fredegund had the last word. 16 years after Fredegund's death, with Brunhild now 67 woman, Fredegund's son killed her in a brutal manner as I've ever heard. First on the torture rack. Next, each one of her extremities was tied to a different horse, and they were all set to run in different directions, tearing her apart. Lastly, burnt her body. Jeez! What's that? Holy crap. But none of these are the craziest thing Fredegund ever did. So what's the craziest thing she ever did? If that picture was any indication, I think we know what she did. Well, you see, she had a daughter, Fredegund. Fredegund, as princesses do, was looking forward to one day becoming her queen herself. One day, she exasperated by her daughters, I want to be queen now, right? Fredegund told her to go look inside her chest and pick out some jewelry for herself. Hey, Fredegund, go pick out some jewelry from that treasure chest. When Fredegund poked her head in the treasure chest, Fredegund slammed it shut on her neck, and had servants not stopped her, she would have killed her own daughter. Fredegund, cartoonishly, overwhelmingly evil. Wow. What the heck? Like, dude. That is seriously, that's not even Disney levels of cartoonishly evil. I mean, wait, it could be. She could be Scar. I don't know, Scar might be oppressed, but then again, Scar could be like, dude, chill out. That's Scar. You know, he killed his own brother, but at the same time, she'd be like, chill out, you're kind of going on a murder spree. That's like crime movie levels of murder happening there. She's like, get rid of this one, get rid of that one, get rid of him, get rid of her. My daughter's talking too much. Get rid of that one. And then she dies. And her son is like, get rid of that one. Jeez. Please tell me her bloodline stopped. I mean, honestly. And it wouldn't stop more terrible people coming into the world, because it's like, shoot, they're here, but woo! Art note: she has non-complementary colors to emphasize how off she is. Roughly the same color scheme as the Joker. Her costume is a period appropriate as like a figure. I figure getting period reference for this character is pretty difficult. I'm not happy with the disco-like effect caused by light and glyph of the armor, but I maintain it could work. I just need to give it another go down the line. This was originally posted on the web Mother's Day.
Really, nigga?
This was what? Okay, first of all, we went from pregnant Viking to I need to kill everyone lady. With the most messed up picture ever. God, her daughter is suffering there. Alright, we did heroic, we did villainous. Now we'll do a mix. Which, okay, that seems fair. Oh, we have some clusters there. Do we have clusters for, do we have clusters for heroic? Yeah, we did. We had a lot more clusters, but... Alright! Let's get to some women who were in the mix.
Here we offer a relaxed and peaceful atmosphere. Seeking a quiet day of comfort and relaxation on the beach?
Stephanie St. Clair, this audacious black gangster, fought the Italian mob for control of Harlem and won, topping them in a full-page newspaper ad as she went. Harlem's Queen of Numbers. Stephanie St. Clair, 1897 to 1969. Harlem's Queen of Numbers. Oh man, y'all are in for a treat this week. Morality, mixed. Story, up and down. Presenting the tale of the Prohibition era gangster Stephanie St. Clair. She ran Harlem's numbers rackets, fought the mob and won, and repeatedly dissed them in a full-page ads in the newspaper, where she attached giant pictures of herself dressed to the nines because Madame St. Clair was fabulous above all else. To whom I make it so, I receive letters and telephone messages from men which have annoyed me very much. I take this occasion to ask them publicly to please not annoy me. I, Madame St. Clair, am not looking for a husband or a sweetheart. If they do not stop annoying me, I shall publish their names and letters in the newspapers. In the early history of Stephanie St. Clair, who went by Madame Queenie, is lost both. The early history of Stephanie St. Clair, who went by Madame Queenie, is lost both to time and to her tendency to lie shamelessly about her past. This much seems certain. She was born on Guadalupe in the Caribbean, came to New York in the 1910s, and by 1927 had started her own numbers racket with seed money of $10,000. Within a few short years, she found she was clearing $250,000 a year. Now, a quick explanation of number rackets, since maybe like me, you've heard the term millions of times, but have no clue what it actually means. Yeah, I really don't. More commonly referred to time as policy banking, it was a mix of investing, gambling, and playing the lottery, because few banks would accept black customers at the time. It was one of the few ways anyone in the community could invest their earnings. Although the practice was generally illegal, it provided a surprising amount of wealth and jobs. So, dubious practice, but actually good for the community. Sometimes. And make no mistake, Stephanie St. Clair was extremely community-oriented. See, that's what I like about gangsters. See, I like it when gangsters are like people who want to take care of their community because the people who are supposed to be taking care of the community aren't doing nothing about it. That's the only type of gangster romanticization I go for. Like, I want to see more of that in movies. Taking care, not just, oh, I just want to run everything. It's like, you know what? The government's not taking care of my people. I'm going to take care of my people the best way I can. That's what I go for all the time. Most of her newspaper ads were spent educating her neighbors about their rights, advocating for voting rights, and calling out police brutality. She spent her money on any number of community projects, illegal funds to help new French-speaking immigrants. She made sure all her employees were dressed impeccably, and she treated Harlemites with the utmost courtesy. She even lived in the same building as many of the other neighbors luminaries, C.J. Walker, W.E.B. Du Bois, Thurgood Marshall, and more. I'm not afraid of Dutch Schultz or any other living man living. He'll never touch me. She was not afraid to get rough, though, and the Great Depression afforded her ample opportunity. When the economy tanked and white mobsters' profit began to plunge, they began edging in on Harlem. None were more ruthless in this landgram than gun-toting thug Dutch Schultz. He began making phone calls threatening her, kidnapping and murdering her men, buying off select police, and even at one point got her arrested. St. Clair's revenge was swift and brutal. When at one point Schultz sent an underling to intimidate her, she pushed the underling into a closet, locked him in, and called in 4 massive bodyguards to take care of him. She attacked and destroyed the forefronts of any business that ran Schultz's betting operations. She tipped the police off to Schultz's operations, which led them raiding his clearinghouse, arresting 14 employees and seizing around $2 million. Then she bragged about it in the press because she gave somewhere in the neighborhood 0 fucks. 0 fucks. Yep, that sounds right. When Schultz finally was taken out, shot in the stomach while on the toilet. Wow. Tywin Lannister much? She dropped everything, rushed to a telegram to his hospital deathbed. It simply said, "So you sow. So shall ye reap." She signed it, Madam Queen of Policy. Cold-blooded. Essentially, he got shot in the toilet. She sent him a letter saying, "Ha." I mean, that's what I'm getting out of this. Ha! So then CJ, to the members of my race, many persons have said they are afraid for me, and that I should be careful. I'm not going to be any more careful than I have been. Please have no fear for me. I only ask that you listen to my advice and do what I have told you. I fear no one. I have no fear of anybody. I respect everybody and shall expect respect from them. Wait, expect respect from them. Ooh. That did a number on my brain. Enemies have telephoned almost every night and said they are going to give me a ride and bump me off. When they say such things over my private wire, I just laugh at them. Because such things sound silly and simple to me. My enemies are now planning to frame me by saying that I carry a gun on my possession. These, and many more things, they are planning to do, but they will have a hard job to be successful, because from 3 to 7 days before anything happens, I have a warning of it. In conclusion, we'll say that I am going to continue to fight until the members of the race get their just and legal rights. I like her, a person of the people. By now you can see why this is in the mixed section. I mean, she was a gangster, but she liked and tried, but she worked for her community, you know. So, you know, that's kind of in the mix, right? I am sane, smart, and fearless. The struggle against Schultz gradually edged St. Clair out of the numbers game. She began taking out newspaper ads as a sort of insurance policy against police and Schultz, publicly stating where she was and what she was doing, so everyone had a record of it. In doing so, she kept her nose clean and ended up handing the reins to her protege, the terrifyingly violent Bumpy Johnson, who ran things for many years thereafter. With Johnson protecting her, Schultz dead, and a desire to keep her life on the straight and narrow, St. Clair transitioned into using her new public persona to advocate for political reform. It was in this capacity that she met her future husband, Sufi Abdul Hamid, known in the press as Black Hitler. Well, and that's just where things take a turn, right? Hamid was, as one could expect, an eccentric figure, a cape and turban toting militant activist. He organized a campaign to boycott business that didn't employ blacks, ran a mosque, and claimed to have been born in Egypt. He was in Chicago. Oh my God, it was a hotep. For these reasons and many others, not the least of which were his rabid anti-Semitism and Nazi-style fashion, the press took a dim view on him and dubbed him Black Hitler. Their marriage did not last long, ending when she shot him. Or rather, shot at him. The vagaries of their marriage was too complex to explore in depth, but suffice to say, Hamid was cheating on her with a black fortune teller, with more curves than a windy mountain grey. Well, maybe he shouldn't have been racist. So. 1, he was racist. 2, he was cheating. 2, you were racist and cheating on a gangster. So, you know, and you were a hotep, so I don't see a love lost there. Oh well. See what happens when you're racist? You get shot by gangsters. I'm supposed to feel sorry for that bitch, because I don't. Who went by Hamid was cheating on her with a black fortune teller with more curves than a winding mountain grade who went by Fu Futum. She bafflingly claimed to be Asian. Her real name was Dorothy Matthews. Hamid and Futum attempted to start any number of businesses using St. Clair's money. See, that's where you done messed up. That's where you messed up. Including, funnily enough, manure cells. When St. Clair had enough, she shot Hamid 3 times, although the closest she came to hitting him, according to Hamid, was nicking his teeth. Wait, did she die? Wait, he died. No, I'm not sure how that would have worked either. That's him? Yup. You look like a hotep. If you don't know, first of all, you can't, anyone who's not black can't say hotep, so. Hotep is basically weeaboos, but for ancient Egypt. And they're usually black dudes, so. There's some black women who do that too, but essentially weeaboos for ancient Egypt. And they're like alt-right weeaboos for ancient Egypt. Which I don't know if any of you heard. They're apparently in a relationship, a little alliance with the alt-right, so it didn't surprise anyone who knew what a hotep was, because she went to jail for 3 years, and after that her story gets a bit hazy. Harlem began to slow decline as outside forces began squabbling over it, with their efforts sapping the community of resources instead of reinvesting in it, as St. Clair had done. Hamid died in a plane crash months after her arrest, and the mosque he ran became a dance hall featuring a one-legged dancer. No, really. St. Clair herself lived a fairly quiet life, dying just shy of 73 years old in 1963. Years later, when interviewed about St. Clair, the widow of Bumpy Johnson summed her up as a woman not afraid to kick off her expensive high heels and go toe-to-toe with any man or woman insolent enough to insult her breeding and character. Yay. Edit, why isn't this a movie? A couple people have asked, why isn't this a movie? Which probably should have been the name of this blog, honestly. And, well, it was kind of. In 1997, a movie Hoodlum has Cicely Tyson in it as Madame St. Clair, although it sounds like she's barely in it. The movie is more about Bumpy Johnson, oh god, versus... why, though? About Bumpy Johnson, Lawrence Fishburne versus Dutch Schultz, Tim Roth. Guessing it starts around the same time. Guess around the time starts moving to Harlem and got her sent to prison. Oh. Is that Debo? No, wait. No, that's the guy from Final Destination, isn't it? It looked like it. I love how few fucks she has to give in that second picture. Stephanie St. Clair, you are just the best. Yeah, that was Stephanie St. Clair. That was pretty good. That was actually a really good one. It was more in depth, but then it was like more accounts of hers. Like the more they have to find on these people, the more it's gonna be in the story. So, like the Freydegund. What was her name? I forgot her name. Pregnant Viking lady. Like, since there's like 2 different accounts of her, and like, so you're kind of unsure on which is true. So. But yeah, this one was pretty good. And I'm going on 46 minutes, but you know what? We're going to keep going.
Danger like a moonless night, awaken senses all.
Where am I? South America. This one's closer. Jenekeo. When her husband was killed by conquistadors, this native Chilean showed the Spanish what fight like a woman really means. Let's do this! The rebels Spain never caught. Jenekeo. 16th century. Probably not pronouncing that right. Ooh, pictures! In the 1500s, conquistadors invaded Chile found themselves hunted by guerrillas who struck from the shadows. These forces were led by Jenekeo of Mapuche. I'm not pronouncing any of these right. Hang on.
Mapuche.
Mapuche.
South America.
Mapuche. Got it. Thank you. These forces were led by Jenekeo of Mapuche.
Nigga!
I think I forgot how to pronounce that. Oh, god damn it. A woman in Spain would never catch. There's major questions on the story's historicity, isn't there always, but she's still much celebrated in Chile. More info here on Rejected Princesses. Although they'd taken much of the New World, the Spanish could not best the Mapuche. It's like, no. It's like, Steve, no! For decades, the Mapuche relentlessly fought the Spanish to a standstill from their well-secured forts. One such Mapuche fort was guarded by Jenekeo's husband, Hupotean. Hupotean. That's what I'm going with. But under intense Spanish attack, one day, Hupotean had abandoned his fort. He left intent on returning to his wife. He never made it. Wah, 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 wah. I'm sorry. Instead, the Spanish caught him, tortured him, and killed him. And that's where they fucked up. When the news reached Jenekeo, she was overcome with rage. Look at that rage. Oh, wait, I went too far down. Ignore that. She took her late husband's command and began slaughtering the Spanish. Many were the heads laid at her feet. She killed the Spanish at her husband's fort and burnt it to the ground. She gathered an army of thousands. Kidnapped. They struck from all directions, catching the Spanish unaware. It's like, oh, well, holy hell. Her attack on her new fortress at Puchanqui ended a one-on-one combat with the Spanish commander. She mounted his head on her spear, which won the attention of the governor, Alonso de Sotomayor. Sotomayor besieged her mountain fort with firearms and artillery, but Jenekeo gave no ground. She settled in, raining arrows on the Spanish with deadly aim. The Mapuche continued to ambush the Spanish, striking from all directions. He's so frustrated. He's like, God damn it. This is the fifth attack this week. Soon they were awash in Spanish horses, prisoners, and weapons. Defeated, Sotomayor fled, torching farms and hanging prisoners as he went. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. But he did not stay away from law. Gathering reinforcements, he continued his campaign, slowly wearing her down. At long last, she sounded her horn to retreat. As she fled the Spanish forces, Jenekeo disappeared into the jungle. This was the last the histories know of what happened to her. She became one with the jungle. And it is said that if any Spanish person goes into the jungle she disappeared into, they will not come back out. And rumor is that, it's her spirit. Her spirit is like, is that a Spanish person? Not gonna have that. And then she gets one of the trees to like just stab them in the heart or in the eye. That's not true, but I don't know. I think it'd be funny if it was. It's just the forest that hates Spanish people. Oh my god. The Mapuche continued fighting and pushing colonialism back for centuries. Woo! They remained free until the 1880s. Even today, they continue to agitate for autonomy and independence. And something sounds like it's burning. Something smells like it's burning. Hang on. And in the long, painful struggle, they have an enduring symbol in Jenekeo, the woman Spain never conquered. Seriously though, Spanish people don't go into the forest. They call it the Forest of Jenekeo. That's the jungle she disappeared in. It's like really does not like Spanish people. Like even if you're half Spanish or even a third Spanish, you are fucked. I don't know. Maybe if you're third Spanish, you might make it out. Everyone else is fine though. I would live for that. She just became one with the forest, and now she's like, I will kill any Spanish person that walks in here. And here's some more stories. The night witches. The civilian pilots who we killed. Oh my god! I totally gotta get the book. I want to read them. Alright. That was the heroic one. It was pretty awesome. Petition for Spain. I'll stop. I'm sorry. Am I sorry? Eyes closed. Where am I? I am closer to here, so... Oh! Snap! It's her! Wu Zetian, the only female emperor of China in history, her ruthless rise to power makes Game of Thrones look like a day at the beach. Just gonna scroll down, okay, lady? It's fine. Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian, 624 to 705. China's only female emperor. Meet Wu Zetian, first and only female emperor of China. Seen here poisoning her infant daughter. Wait, what? Wait, is that the picture? Hang on. Is that a picture here? Oh, okay, that's a baby in her arms, and that's not good. Okay, that's not good. We're starting off villainous. Oh, if you thought Fredegund was bad, Fredegund didn't succeed in this part. Seen her poisoning her infant daughter. Now, that's actually a bit of historical inaccuracy. The poison was used to knock off other family members. Her young daughter, she strangled. That's not better. That's not better. That means she put effort into that murder. No, The poison is like, alright, we'll do this. I won't, that's all I'll do. A strangle, you gotta put effort into that, okay? So she put effort into killing her baby. That's not cool. In order to frame her rival for the throne, it worked. Her rivals, the old queen and the old queen's mother, were executed, and, as the histories say, they haunted her from that point on. Now, let's be clear front. It's impossible to know if any of that actually happened, because the historical sources on Wu are absolute train wreck. Although she's documented by a surprisingly large number of histories, the recorders of said histories were, shall we say, not exactly paragons of impartiality. Some authors gleefully recorded her tales of torture and backstabbing, while others, one she likely bankrolled, could not stop singing her praises. Getting to the bottom of Wu's actual story has been an ongoing struggle for historians for over thousands of years. This entry will untangle it as best as possible at the end. At least it's honest. It's not like this little entry is gonna be the one that detangles it all. It's like, look, we tried, and this is the best we could come up with. It's my type of history book. After bumping off her rivals, Wu ascended to the position of Emperor Gaozong's main consort. This was unusual in the extreme, having started her political career as a consort of Gaozong's father. She was supposed to have entered a convent after the late emperor's death, but even after Gaozong's father died, Gaozong kept her around. She shared power very equally with him, even running the government herself when he was sick, which was often. They were referred to as the two sages. She was, even by most damning accounts, a good ruler, rooting out corruption and helping the commoners. Well, takes a corrupted person to know a corrupted person, so. Once Gaozong died, she took charge, albeit after some drama around succession. Her older son took the swing at ruling, but drastically overstepped his authority and pissed off everyone. So she dropped him out of office. She replaced him with her younger son, who really didn't want to rule. So, claiming that he has a speech impediment, she proceeded to speak for him. Shockingly, she showed up to court in the open as opposed to issuing decrees from behind a curtain. So we would come to her reign of terror. Reign of terror. Dun dun dun. Can you say Chinese Cersei Lannister? It all started with an attempted coup, as one might imagine. Some government officials were not cool with taking orders from a woman. Shocker. Men. Let alone one as bossy as Wu. Was she bossy though? I'm sorry, my girl ally senses kicked in. Honestly, I don't trust it when guys say women are bossy. Never trust it. Although she put down their uprising fairly easily, now faced with the reality that others were gunning for her, she set about rooting them out. The next 3 years saw the complete rearrangement of the dynastic succession, as she systematically wiped out any and all claimants to the throne. In 1 year alone, she destroyed 15 family lines, mostly through executions, trumped-up treason charges, and enforced suicides, in which she summoned them to the throne and made them kill themselves in front of her. That's cold. That's colder than cold. That's friggin' ice, liquid nitrogen cold. How did she drum up her accusation of treason, you may ask? By putting what was essentially an anonymous comment, out in the open. While its ostensible purpose was to help root out corruption, in practice, it became a repository for tattletale letters. often put there by her spies and secret police. Those who displeased her would inevitably be ratted out by the comment box. Oh my gosh, she had like a box. A snitch box. Those who displeased her would inevitably be ratted out by the comment box and put to the sword, usually their own. This is almost undoubtedly the most hardcore use of any anonymous comment box in history. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing. I shouldn't be laughing, honestly. Enforced suicide, however, was one of the better fates for those who crossed Wu. Her secret police were not shy about employing brutal torture. In fact, two of them, Lai Zhangchen and Wan Gaozhen, actually authored a how-to guide called The Manual of Entrapment. Among the poetically named horrors contained there were piercing in the 100 veins, dying swine's melancholy, and begging for the slaughter of my entire family. Moral of the story, do not mess with Empress Wu. Dynasty of One. She did not stay empress for long, though. After the 3-year reign of terror, she declared a new dynasty, the Zhao dynasty, and with it, she declared herself the emperor. She was largely able to do this because, despite the horrors she inflicted on nobility, she had been very good to the people. Her inquisition in destroying thousands of lives had rooted a lot of had rooted out a lot of institutional corruption, and she implemented standards to steer the government more towards a meritocracy thereafter. No idea what that is. First time hearing about it, honestly. Hang on. There we go. A government or the holding of power by the people selected on the basis of their ability. She opened up a civil examinations to a wider variety of people, making for a greater diversity in local and regional governments from the viewpoint of the lay people. She was actually a pretty good ruler. She was just a terrible, terrible person. Although she never remarried, she had alliances with a number of colorful characters. One described to her as a man of unusual ability was monk Zhu Huaiyi, who frustrated the aristocracy to no end with his casual vulgarity. An example, during a trial on his moral character, Huaiyi barged into the courtroom on horseback, stood around for a bit, then galloped off. What? That's it. He just came in, looked at everyone, and then bounced. While it's uncertain that they were lovers, virtually every history has at least heavily hints at it. She would have been in her 60s during their relationship. Go woo. The other quite literally colorful men with whom she famously spent her waning years were the 20-something Zhang brothers, two flamboyant men who wore operatic makeup and flashy outfits. Many historians depict them in a romantic relationship with by then 70-year-old Wu. However, it seems more likely that they were gay or possibly castrated. The Zhangs were party animals, taking full advantage of Wu's good graces to run government offices like a brothel. Finally, they infuriated others to the point where a group of nobles stormed Wu's palace, cut off their heads, and took control of the government. Wu's response? To gently chide the rebels and go back to bed. Like, are you serious? I'm tired right now, okay? By that point, Wu was tired, worn down from a lifetime of fighting and being a cold-hearted bitch. She renounced her title, forgave her enemies, and soon after died peacefully. Well, as peacefully as you could, knowing you strangled your own daughter. You know, you put effort into her death. Untangling a Gordian knot. As previously mentioned, when it comes to Wu, it's nearly impossible to know what was true and what was not. Generations of scholars have done their best to untangle the histories, and the consensus one gets after synthesizing a lot of writing on her is that while she is unwilling to deny an iron fist, she was not quite the monster she often made out to be. Many of the most diabolical parts of her reign, such as murdering her own baby, were almost certainly fake. Oh, really? One of the more likely explanations was the child died of monoxide poisoning, a serious danger due to charcoal braziers and poor ventilation. Whether she took advantage of the deaths for personal gain is hard to tell. Some histories sprinkle in more detail about her underhanded torture of the deposed queen and dowager queen, with Wu chopping off their limbs and tossing them in stew. This is almost uncertainly true. When it comes to the horrors perpetrated by her, the secret police, that's all more murky. Copies of the aforementioned torture manual apparently survived, although I couldn't confirm its validity. Modern historians tend to eye the claims with extreme suspicion to the extent that the secret police did exist. It's unsure how involved she was with their day-to-day operations. Some historians claim her bureaucratic purge was purely in self-interest. Others say it was for the good of the people. The truth is most likely a mix of the two. At the foot of Wu's undisturbed grave rests a large slate. Unlike the slate of her husband, which lists his many accomplishments, hers is blank. As her tradition goes, her successor was to decide what to make of her. Nobody could find the words. And that was Wu Zetian. Zetian? Satian. I'm sorry.
Here we offer a relaxed and peaceful atmosphere. Seeking a quiet day of comfort and relaxation on the beach.
And we've got, it's a pretty good selection. We got a few clusters here and there. I like clusters. And we're gonna close my eyes and get one last one in there. Okay, we're over here. And looks like we're closer to this one, what we say? It's just door mat repeated. I think maybe this one, because this one looks like it's closer. And we are here with Sophie Moreau. The only use this Canadian badass had for pretty pink bows was to adorn her own rib, which she amputated from her own body after an accident. Okay. Let's read about Sophie Moreau. 1836 to 1916. Hard living, hard bargaining frontier woman. It's an upbeat story, apparently, with a mixed morality. It's easy to forget how much Sophie Moreau had working against her, for when you look at her successful businesses, her hard-earned wealth and property, and her long succession of boy-toy husbands, you could think she skated through life, but when you see her one eye, her self-amputated rib, and realize she was a métis woman, and in the super racist days of the frontier, you start to see how hard she fought to live her wild life. Métis people are people mixed of European and indigenous ancestry, and are one of the 3 recognized Aboriginal peoples in Canada. Okay. Sophie's irregular childhood taught her early on to present whatever identity would be most advantageous to her audience. Raised in a mixed community of fur traders, some white, some native, some mixed, some blood relations, some not, Sophie saw how her community would change who it chose to represent itself, depending on who they were trading it. In the same way, Sophie would come to claim multiple fathers throughout her life. To white people, she was the daughter of a quarter Cree woman and a Frenchman. To white people, she was the daughter of a quarter Cree woman and Frenchman Francois Baptiste Moreau. To the native, her father was Patrick Findlay, a man of Chippewa, Scottish, and either Salish and Spokane. Is it Spokane or Spokane? Descent. The truth is probably that Findlay was her dad and Moreau was her stepdad, but even that's guesswork on the part of historians. While many women of her era would have their lives' adventures curtailed early by marriages, Sophie was different. Although married off at 16 years old, Sophie apparently just up and left the marriage in a couple of years to start running the trade route to local gold miners. Splitting from her husband would prove just the start of a long lifetime of calling the shots business-wise and romantically. Emboldened by her work with the miners, she bolstered her business empires by claiming the land in her own name, making one of the first women in Canada to do so. By her early 30s, she had a small trading outpost with a log and mud cabin. She apparently built in large part by herself. She employed numerous kutenai in making supplies, looking after horses, and even prospecting for gold nearby. Throughout this period, she had ludicrous numbers of adventures, almost all of which we only know about secondhand. She lost one eye when hit by a branch when riding a horse, and wore an eye patch and or green spectacles most of the rest of her life. After an accident with a runaway horse and buggy, she amputated her own protruding rib and proceeded to hang it up in her cabin with a little pink bow. Wow. But her life was nowhere more mild than it matters of the heart. One historian described her thusly: she seldom lacked for masculine company if she so desired, and had numerous men partners over the years. Some outsmarted her, and some merely tried, winding up extinct. The surviving stories corroborate this. One, she described her long string of white suitors as men who occupied the position of husband, and noted that whatever husband she has on is not allowed to interfere with anything, only to do what she tells him. Misbehaving suitors will often find themselves worse for wear. One oral history began saying Sophie had just given her thirst. Okay, these were her actual husbands. They were essentially employees. It was like, alright, this partnership isn't working out. Pink slip. Had just given her 13th husband notice to quit. Her last, having refused to do so, got shot for his pains. The shooter in this instance, Sophie, or her new beau, as was often the case, is not identified. Gunfire was not only the fate that awaited him, however. The later paramour named Tom Clark proved mean and controlling, lashing out at those around him and trying to isolate her from the community. He was later found to have mysteriously drowned. He tried it. He didn't know she was a savage.
Didn't I tell you that I was a savage?
Her attitudes towards race proved difficult to decipher from a modern standpoint. In the company of other metis, she would prefer to herself as one of the only white women on the plains. She kept a separate washing up place for Native Americans and made sure they used it. At the same time, she looked after local tribes, employed and feeding large community numbers of them. She had standing teepees on her land, and Kudeta were always coming by. Moreover, upon witnessing one of her neighbors discarding candy offered by the Kunate on the grounds that it was too dirty, she became fiercely angry with the neighbor, which led to a years-long rift between the two. Late in life, Sophie took some severe financial hits when a rough winter killed off much of her livestock. She was further struck when several paramours and business partners robbed her of money. In her twilight years, she put her affairs in order, hired living caretakers, and died peacefully at 80 years old. Of her, one of her obituary wrote, "Hers was a colorful, zestful life, which, if written in full, would outsell any modern novel." Sounds like she lived a decent life. So far, that seems to be the most normal one we've read. The mixed ones are apparently the most normal ones to read. Alright, and that was the last of the Rejected Princesses I was going to do today. Because my voice is going, and if I keep going, it's gonna be gone. Yeah, I said that. But I like this. This was fun. I could totally do more of this. Maybe on special occasions, because I wanted to do something for International Women's Day, and I love the Rejected Princesses website a lot. So it's really fun to read oftentimes. And I'm gonna have to read, where was it at? I'm gonna have to read this one because it sounds interesting. As you see here, check out the books. They're good. If you want more stories that's not on the web, then you should go check them out. And I don't know. I'll leave a link to the website in the description, and you could read more stories on your own. Maybe you could do the randomizing method. But let these stories inspire you to be the woman or femme you know you can be. Okay, maybe not be Wu Zetian levels of woman, but you know. Or Fredegund levels of woman. Don't do that. Don't be them. Don't be them. Do not. Again, these, like, it's not saying, like, these accounts, I don't know if I said this already. It's not saying, like, these stories written in this are accurate, because it's just these are written with whatever information they were able to dig up and find, and to try to decipher which could be true and which could not be. So, which is, like, a lot of problem historians have. So, you know, maybe on my next birthday I could do a Rejected Princesses Day. Another Rejected Princesses Day. Because I don't know what I'm going to do for my birthday. I'll maybe do the Rejected Princesses for my birthday. And I could just do black women. So, no. Because as far as I know, I'm only, whatever. I'm rambling. Don't ramble. But yeah, this has been Rejected Princesses. Happy International Women's Day. Be the woman you know you could be. Or be the femme you know you can be. And go out into the world and kick ass as best as you can. No girl hate. Just so you know, girl hate. There's no girl hate. stick together and conquer the world. I'm trying to be motivational. I don't think it's working. Then again, I'm getting lightheaded, so I'm trying to be motivational. Lightheaded me is trying to be motivational. So yeah, this has been Rejected Princesses, which I said already, but go conquer the world in your own way, because I know I will.
She knows how to affect the room. It's the details, those accessories.